Yo, listen, let me tell you something. Talk about a cultural tent pole. Talk about a success story.
Yes.
Talk about a master at his craft as
Absolutely.
he continues to develop. This man has transcended eras, Heather B. Eras with the work that he's done. It's always been high level, high quality, grounding at the same time. He made us believe we could be on the big screen, on TV, and music videos. I just played I Ain't Mad at You by Tupac Shakur, who was a friend of mine. This man was in that video as well.
Right.
When I look at his film discography, it's not enough time to list them all. But man, Crooklyn, Jason's Lyric, Panther, Dead Presidents, with you, Heather B. Y'all co-starred together in that. Give him your line again.
Get the fuck off a spider.
There you go.
Don't laugh, B.
You remember that? Gridlock, Caught Up, the big hit, Almost Heroes. I mean, The Runner, Life, It's the Rage. I mean, Detonator, Ray. The list goes on and on and on. And he's here to talk about the new series, Government Cheese. But just let's celebrate this man and what he's given us as a culture, as a community. He's been stand-up throughout it all. He shared his personal life. Last time he came here, we had Seafood with us, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
And he talked about his involvement in martial arts, his life philosophies. I love this guy. I want to welcome him back to the show, citizens. I'm open the phone lines for you all to talk to him. The one and only Bokeem Woodbine is back.
Peace.
Yes.
What's up, man? We got Tracy and Mike
good?
Muse
What's
and
good?
everybody
I
in
see
New
y'all.
York.
I see y'all.
New York,
We see
man.
you.
All
You
right,
look
what's
fantastic.
good? What's good?
What's up,
All
Bo?
right. You
What's
too,
up?
as usual.
Thank
Face.
Man, I always like talking about. I played I Ain't Mad at You because you can't talk about it enough. But that was a video that you was a part of, right?
Indeed. You know, Pac hit me up out of the blue and was like, yo, you know, I need you to be in this video with me. I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Just let me know where to be.
Did y'all know each other at that time?
Yeah, we had known each other because we had worked on some stuff before with Gridlocked and everything like that.
Yeah.
And just, you know, partying and hanging out. And he'd always been like a really positive dude in terms of whenever we would hang out, he always had like a jewel to drop on me, a gem about the industry and about, you know, what I was getting myself into, because I was only probably 3 or 4 years in the game at that time.
Can you recall a jewel? Something he said that now, when you think back, stick with you?
That made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the powerful ones is he said, don't be scared to be by yourself sometimes.
What?
Because that's what
Real.
it takes sometimes. And I don't know if that was for me specifically or if he was speaking generally, but I felt like he was talking to me.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know, you young man, don't be scared to be by yourself sometimes, because that's what's going to serve you.
Have you practiced that, being by yourself at all?
I'm known for that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in the 90s, you know, I was in the mix. I was definitely getting it in and enjoying being a young man. Had a little money in his pocket, had a little bit of fame, and just enjoying life. And then I think when I got to be my early 30s, it was like it clicked. That jewel that he had dropped, that, you know, sometimes is better to be alone so you can gather your thoughts, come up with your strategy, plan your attack, your approach. And I've just been really, really living by that for probably the last 20 years now.
Wow, man, this guy, Bokeem Woodbine. When I think of you, bro, you mentioned Gridlock. I think of Ghostbusters. I think of Fargo. I think of Spider-Man.
Wow.
And then I think of Spanish Harlem, where you grew up.
Yeah,
right?
indeed.
Could you imagine yourself growing up in Spanish Harlem, being in Spider-Man?
Well, you know, here's the thing. I would spend a lot of my weekends and summers and stuff with my grandma, Spanish Harlem and Jefferson Project. Shout out to Jeff. I grew up primarily in Harlem, so I mean, it was just a transition. It was just a walk to grandma's, walk back home, whatever. But I always had big ambition, even when I was a young man. It was hard for me to accept my circumstance, you know. And my mother instilled in me from a very young age this notion that you are not necessarily your circumstance. Your circumstance is your circumstance, but you have everything that it takes to rise above that, or if you choose to accept it, and find peace in it, whatever. But for me, I was a guy that was, pre-programmed in a way. I came to this planet, I feel like now, looking back at 52, I came to this planet with the idea of rising out of my circumstance and making the most out of my, attributes and discipline.
Yeah. You say you came to this planet. Where do you think you came from? What do you believe?
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas about that.
Okay.
Some of them might seem a little bit way out there, so I'll stick with the ones that I think maybe might be a little bit more easily digestible.
Okay.
I think that we choose to come here.
Mm-hmm.
That's my philosophy, is that we choose to come here. I think we even pick our parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that life is a mission that we decide to undertake. Now, where we are before that, I'm not sure about yet. I think I'm still developing that understanding or philosophy, if you will. But I honestly feel like I chose to be in this body in this time and on this planet at this time to do what I'm doing right now.
Bokeem Woodbine. Did what you learned in martial arts, did that help shape and mold this ideal, this concept that you speak of now?
Absolutely. For me, training with Shifu is so challenging that when you're done training, you wiped out, you exhausted. And in those moments, I find clarity. I'm a deep thinker. I have a lot of energy. My mind's racing constantly, or it was up until I started figuring out how to kind of exhaust myself. So the physical aspect of the training is so arduous that when I'm done training, I'm just beat. I'm spent. Like, there's no time for me to really have that racing mind or, for me to have any kind of unsettled energy. I'm just tired. And in those moments is when I start to see things clearly.
You start seeing them clearly. We just gave each other a pound in the other room, Heather, and we both admired and noticed how strong and
You
solid
feel like
our
Bokeem
physiques are.
admired your physique, because that's really what I heard.
Yeah. Well, we both. I admired it.
We fit guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we figured that part out.
Now, what's your training like, Sway? Because we heard Bokeem.
Right, the martial
now,
arts.
Do you choose to share? What's your philosophy? Bokeem, did he not walk us into this? He said, this is your brother, Sway. He walked us into
Don't focus on the finger, or you will miss the heavenly glory. That's
My man.
Here he goes.
that's my philosophy.
Man.
Bokeem know what I'm talking
I
about.
love it.
Hey, let me ask you this, man, because you're somebody who's been in the business for decades. And we could go over from Jason's lyrics to Crooklyn. I mean, you've done some amazing work. I've never seen you in the kind of headlines I've seen a lot of us in that right now, controversial headlines. How do you feel like you avoid? What helped you to avoid that?
It's crazy that you mentioned it. I was thinking about that the other day. For me, I think it's a couple of things, honestly. I think, being from Harlem, I tend to look ahead as opposed to just going through life and being surprised. Like, there's always going to be some surprises, but I generally tend to look several blocks ahead, if you will, to see what's coming. So I think I developed the ability to see things before they happen, things that could be potentially detrimental to my journey.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking ahead. The other thing is Shaolin Kung Fu. Like I say, it's so hard. I'm a perpetual beginner. I'll be a beginner forever. There's certain things that I've definitely improved a lot at. And then there's certain things that are just still so hard. And it's that never-ending commitment and that never-ending journey that has kind of leveled out my for lack of a better word, emotions. And sometimes your emotions can cloud your judgment. And so if you can see things coming and you have kind of a clear understanding that is not necessarily affected by emotion, you can deal with situations very well most of the time. And one of the other things is like I'm so focused on getting somewhere in my chosen profession that I don't really have time for the nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's those three things.
Those three things. Bokeem is here, man.
It seems like it's so funny you mentioned emotion because it seems like your discipline and training helps control emotions. We're big sports people here. We were talking about the game last night and how Tyrese Halliburton's dad ended up on court confronting Giannis after the win. And we were talking about how he basically let his emotions get the best of him and then the result of that. But with that being said, do you still get excited, though? Because Sway mentioned your career, Apple TV, new series. In the 90s, none of us was thinking about television and this platform, right? So do you still get excited or you don't allow when you get these new roles or you don't allow yourself to sit in it that long?
That's a very good question. I think for me, I get very, very hyped up.
Right.
Instantly, once I hear the good news that, like, this job I wanted or something happened, I get so hyped up. You wouldn't even recognize me. I'm like a child, literally, like a little kid, like jumping up and down, running around like silly. So I hope nobody ever sees me like that. My family sees me like that. You know what I'm saying? But generally speaking, nobody ever sees me like that. I get super exuberant, and then almost instantly after that initial just joy. It's like, okay, I gotta knock this out the park, and then I go into my zone. I go into like, what are the parameters? What are my tools? Who are my allies? You know what I'm saying? What's the terrain? What's the landscape? And I start formulating this strategy, how I'm approach the role. So it's incredible exuberance and joy and excitement, which, by the way, I think is an important emotion. I think that
speak on that, yeah.
I think that joy is an important emotion, and oftentimes in the Western world, as men, we're kind of taught to squash our joy a little bit because it's corny. It's not necessarily reflective of masculinity and this kind of thing. I believe these teachings are nonsense. I believe that joy is power, and that joy is something that can lift you to the Corinthian heights and can take you from A to Z. Joy is significant as an emotion. So I just wanted to say that, yeah.
Amen.
That's
I love
amazing.
That. Yeah.
Bokeem Woodbine, we're going to get to New York in a second, but when I look at you and I'm naming all of these movies, we got something, and when we were coming up, right, the whole notion of somebody becoming more successful and versus somebody selling out, right?
Yeah.
Right? And I know in hip hop, when you start making, back in the day, you start making those crossover records, people would say you sold out. I remember when I went to MTV, people was like, oh, man, he left us, right? You started a lot of early on black films, and it's easy to stay in that lane, perhaps. Maybe, I don't know. I won't say easy. That's a bad word, but it might be hard to get out of that lane, to be quite honest with you. You started doing the X-Files. You did The Rock, and you started really expanding your brand. You became mainstream in a sense. Do actors get the same kind of backlash, though, when you become mainstream?
Wow, that's interesting. I think it depends on the actor, and I think that people will generally celebrate you becoming mainstream as long as you reach back and as long as you reference your community and as long as they feel that you are still connected in your heart to the community. My circumstance was a little bit different. I didn't really leave the community. I am the community, so you can't.
You are. You talk that shit. Man. Come on.
I mean, I know I don't mean to sound arrogant. I'm not trying to sound arrogant.
You are who you are.
But I am the community. The community is me. But as far as black film is concerned, I was kind of like politely asked to leave in a way, in the sense like once 2000 came around, I was persona non grata. Like, it was too easy for folks to hire a rapper and get the soundtrack tie-in for a lot of roles, or hire these pretty mother, you know what I'm saying? Hire somebody with a different aesthetic, and I was pretty much kind of like, okay, that was cool, but all right, see you, bye bye now.
You got dismissed a little.
I got kind of dismissed.
By whom? The power?
I think that it has to do with there was a new crop of filmmakers who came in with an agenda, and they finally getting a chance, to make their film and get their script produced, and I'm proud of all of them and everything like that. But just to give you an example, from like 2000 to 2017, my agent submitted me for just about every black film that was ever made from 2000 to 2017, and I couldn't even get an audition. So it was just kind of like,
wow.
Really? Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But luckily, when you get to like 2017, some new black filmmakers started getting opportunities, like Melina Matsoukas or Anthony Hemingway. Shout out to my big brother, the RZA.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Cats like that. Paul Hunter, Aisha Carr, Elegance Bratton. There was like a new crop of black filmmakers. And some of them aren't necessarily new, but I started working with them, I could say. And I started having opportunity to work on films that reference the community again. But before that, nobody was really, interested in working with Brother Bo like that. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm looking at 2017. That's the year Spider-Man Homecoming came out, right?
Right.
So come back with Spider-Man. Y'all want to fuck with me? Come back with Spider-Man. Period. New T-shirt alert. But how does an artist, though, and I know everybody's road is different, okay? Right. I don't want to make a general statement, but if you can speak to the artists and the actors that's listening now, that's a 17-year gap. How do you sustain? How do you take care of your family? Do you go get a quote-unquote regular job, whatever that means for people now? Like, does it mess with your confidence a little bit, mess with your skill set? How do you provide for yourself and your family?
For me, I was lucky because even though black filmmakers weren't really interested in hiring Bokeem, other filmmakers were. So I got lucky in that respect. There was work for me still available for me to do. And during those times, that's what sustained me. For other people who weren't as lucky, weren't as fortunate, you do see people end up, teaching acting or taking the kind of jobs that aren't necessarily creative. And
but flexible in case they have auditions.
Flexible in case they get an audition, kind of thing like that. I was able to sidestep that because there were a lot of independent filmmakers who weren't necessarily from the community, but had admired the stuff that I had done prior to 2000, and said, "Look, if they're not rocking with you right now, come on over here because we got these indie projects." We like what you're doing, and that's what that's what kept me going.
Bokeem Woodbine is here. We're talking about Government Cheese, the series on Apple TV Plus.
Yep.
This is a really great series. It's a one episode weekly every Wednesday through May 28th on Apple TV Plus. I'm going to let Mike Muse and Tracy G jump in, if you will. We could talk more about this series. Tracy G, go for it.
Bo, I could hear you speak for days even. You have like a shaman energy, bro. I feel like 3 hours of listening to you and I'm going to start to levitate. You're very, very welcome. When you had mentioned embracing solitude, it made me think about the wide body of work you've done and how the characters oftentimes can say more than a paragraph's worth with just a stare or a smile. And I'm wondering if you can speak about your approach to silence in a scene with the same intentionality that you approach dialogue.
Wow, thank you for even noticing that. I appreciate that observation. For me, I'm going to be straight up with you. That's a technique I picked up from Michael Caine in his book that he wrote, Acting in Film. But you got to say it like that because Michael Caine talks like that. No, I'm playing. No, but his book, Acting in Film, he talks about silence and the power of silence and pauses. So you just kind of outed me and have made me reveal one of my techniques right there. But
wow.
I picked that one up from Michael Caine.
Very nice.
Wow, man. Mike Muse, not Michael Caine, but Mike Muse.
Mike Muse.
Yeah, what's up, Bo? One man, thank
Peace,
you
peace.
for the vulnerability in this conversation, and particularly around Black Hollywood. I'm just curious, how is your relationship now with Black Hollywood? Right, I can only imagine possibly the pain that it felt being rejected for all those years, and how is your relationship, and how did you decide to enter back into Black Hollywood?
I don't feel no pain, brother. What you talking about, man? No.
That's joy,
No,
man.
no.
That's joy.
Oh, it's
I'm
all
teasing.
joy, yeah.
No. Look, you can't make people like you, and you got to get in where you fit in, and bills got to get paid. So I'm gonna do what I got to do. And I would say it feels amazing, such a wonderful surprise. Like I think Anthony Hemingway, when I worked with him on a show called Unsolved, that's a brother, and it just occurred to me, and I was on set working on Unsolved. I was like, okay, I'm working with the brothers again. Okay, it started getting good to me, and then about a year or so after that, Melina Matsuka, a sister who directed Queen and Slim, and I was like, okay, well, I don't want to get too excited. And during that time, of course, my big brother, the RZA, was holding me down with episodes on Wu-Tang American Saga.
That's right.
So towards the end of, like around 2017, 18, 19, 20, I started feeling really, really kind of upbeat, and I started wondering to myself, am I going to start to get an opportunity to work with Black folks again and tell our stories, and it just really inspired me, but I didn't want to get too happy about it. And then Elegance Bratton came along and offered me a role in his debut film, The Inspection, which if y'all haven't checked it out, you should check it out. It's really great. Gabrielle Union does a fantastic job, and it's just a masterful performance, as well as our lead actor, Jeremy Pope. But it's another Black thing, if you will. And so I was like, okay, wow, I might be back in the mix again. And then here I am on Government Cheese, where Paul Hunter, Aisha Carr, and David Oyelowo said, brother, would you like to come on in and get down with us on this project? And so I'm kind of on a roll right now.
Yeah, you're doing it, man.
It feels wonderful.
Good.
I'm not even waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm just
there you
enjoying it.
That's beautiful.
Did you I read, if I'm not mistaken, that initially you didn't feel like you had enough time to prepare for this role?
Yeah, I ducked the role initially.
How,
man?
I'm
gonna tell you why, bro. I'm gonna tell you why. That's David Oyelowo.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'll tell you how it came about. I was just at the crib, and I got a call from my agent, Paul Hunter, Aisha Carr, Apple TV, David Oyelowo. They're interested in you potentially for a role. Playing opposite David. Y'all will be like best friends since childhood. And I was like, oh my God, it's like a dream come true, because I'm a huge admirer of the brother.
Yeah, he's very talented.
He's no joke. So
Yeah.
I said, this is great. And it was a Thursday. And I said, okay, cool. So when do we do the thing? And he was like, Monday, you have to be on set. I was like, Monday? Today is Thursday. He was like, yes, and Monday you have to be on set, And I'm like, pass. He said, really? I said, yeah, man. 4 days isn't enough to prepare to get on screen with that cat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And,
You want me to lace up to go hoop with Jordan?
come on now. Come on now. I mean, come on. Sight unseen without even reading the script. I was like, pass. Not happening. And, so then I was coming to New York to finish this documentary we were doing on Shifu. Me and RZA doing the documentary on Shifu.
Y'all doing a doc on Shifu?
Yeah, it's not quiet as
Not
kept
quite
anymore,
anymore,
right?
Yo, Bokeem, can I be in it? And then we'll get back to your story?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
great.
a yes on that.
Okay, I'm in it.
What?
So
I'm just saying.
Heather, there's a yes for you too if you
Okay.
want to. She was like, okay. So anyway, long story short, I'm headed to New York to work on the documentary, and then I started reading the script. I said, let me just leaf through this, even though I'm gonna pass. Let me just leaf through it, and I fell in love with the character Bootsy.
Wow.
So when I landed, I called my agent. I was like, you know what? This is a drag because I love this character, but it's just not enough time. And he said, well, I've been on the phone with them. So while I was flying through the sky, he was on the phone with them, and they acquiesced to my request and said, you know what? We'll give the brother some more time.
Beautiful.
Wow.
And then I found out later, David was like, give that brother some time, man. No, he didn't say it like that. He didn't say it like that.
With a Nigerian accent.
Wow.
But, yeah, they gave me the time that I needed to prepare to give me that confidence to be on screen with him. And so I did my due diligence, and then, boom, I went and I did the gig.
And you're killing it, man.
Yeah.
He plays
Thank
Bootsy in this, and David's character name is Hampton, right?
Hampton, yeah.
And the synopsis is...
The synopsis is this. Hampton Chambers is a reformed man after doing a stint in prison for check forgery who has found a connection with God and has decided that when he gets out, he's going to take his family to the Corinthian Heights, as it were, utilizing a skill he developed while he was in prison as a machinist. He has designed this self-sharpening drill with a drill bit that will never go dull because it's self-sharpening. And so he decides to come out and approach the business world as an inventor, and hilarity ensues.
Yes, man. I got a chance to watch it. It's incredible. Yeah. Bokeem Woodbine is here. I'll be remiss if I didn't ask you about your relationship with RZA. When did y'all first meet? What was said?
In 94.
Wow.
Coming out in L.A., right here in Los Angeles. He was coming out of club. I was going in the club. He was coming out of the club. And this is I call it the gold fang era. Mm-hmm. You know, when a lot of them woo cats had the gold fangs, you know what I mean? So he was talking to me, and I dapped him up immediately. I'm a huge Wu fan, even before I met the RZA. I'm a Wu guy. Mm-hmm. So I was like, peace, you know, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. But back in them days, he talked so fast.
He did talk fast.
I couldn't understand what he was saying.
Yeah.
Right? He was like, and I was just nodding my head pretending because it's the RZA. I don't want him to catch me not understanding him. So I'm just nodding my head like, yeah, yeah. But he caught me and he said, okay, my bad, God. Sometimes I talk a little fast. And he slowed it down for me. He slowed it down for me. And
he bonged you.
Yeah, I felt privileged. I was like, oh, wow, you're going to slow down the vernacular for me? Wow. Oh, my God, right? And so he slowed it down. And so initially, whenever we would hang out, I would see him make the effort to speak a little slower. Uh-huh. But then my ear started speeding up, so he didn't even have to do that. I could understand what he was saying. Yeah. And we've been tight ever since. And we didn't even know that Shifu was a connection between the two of us as well.
So you already knew Shifu?
No, he already knew Shifu.
Yes.
He already knew Shifu. Uh-huh. I met Shifu and didn't know that RZA knew Shifu.
Okay.
So I met RZA in 94. I met Shifu in 98. It wasn't until probably 99 that I realized that RZA knew Shifu and Shifu knew RZA. That's when my head just exploded. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, meant to be,
madness,
right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And for those who don't know, Shifu is?
Shifu is a 34th generation Shaolin Temple warrior monk who has come to the United States over 30 years ago. He's been here since 94 to teach Westerners and people throughout the world the beauty and discipline of Shaolin Kung Fu and Chan Buddhism to anybody who's open to it.
My man, Bokeem Woodbine, man. Give this guy a round of applause. So much to talk to you about, but we only have so little time, brother. But I appreciate you getting up and coming in to see us today.
Hey, y'all two about the only people I get up this early for.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
And no, we'll get up this early for you too, brother.
Yes,
because we already up. You know.
Yeah.
Let me know when you need me for the doc.
Yeah, I got y'all. Heck
okay,
yeah,
I'm dead serious too, man. RZA, you know that's my brother too.
Oh, that's our brother.
You know, King Tech did. He was a music supervisor for the Wu-Tang Clan, the saga. So,
oh wow. Beautiful.
Yeah, so we're all family. RZA brings, that's what's special about that dude, bro. He brings everybody together, right?
It's bizarre, like how he's the nexus to people that you wouldn't even think like you could talk to a chess master.
Yeah.
So, oh, RZA, that's my guy. I got him on speed dial right here. You know, or it could be somebody in technology. It could. This cat knows everybody, you know, everybody that's a quality person.
Yeah.
And that's what he does. He brings people together.
There it is. Okay, man. Bokeem Woodbine, give him a big round of applause. Government Cheese. That's right. Every Wednesday through May 28th on Apple TV+. We want to thank you for coming by. You guys want to hit Bokeem on his social, you can.
Yeah. So I don't really do a whole lot of social media, but recently I got a Instagram page. And it's The Real Bokeem. The Real Bokeem on Insta. It's got the blue check mark and everything. And also, if it's okay with you, brother, I just want to plug my upcoming album.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I just want to plug my upcoming album. You know what I'm saying?
Single out now.
What?
Yeah.
What's the single?
Yeah. You can get it on. It's the single. It's a single. Is a collection of 2 songs. And it's called Star Seeds Sling Jing Jams. Can you dig it? And it's just 2 songs. It's out right now. But
That's
the full length album. That's Apple, iTunes. You know, that kind of thing. Spotify,
Dig that up,
I
Torch.
believe.
So dig that up. What's it called
John
again?
is working on it now.
Star Seeds Sling Jing Jams. But the full length album will be out early May, and it's going to be. It's by my band 13 Purple Dragons, and the full length album is called Trials and Victories of the Rock and Roll Kung Fu Spaceman.
And he leans back.
Silence. Silence.
I actually saw footage of you performing.
You know, okay. So you
Pretty
know it's real.
fucking incredible, bro.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for letting me plug it. You know,
Who you are on stage ain't who you are on screen.
bong bong.
Wow. I've seen this. I've seen you. I was like, who is this?
Thank you, brother.
It was like I got to meet another person inside of this person.
Yeah.
Can we end with, we got something, Torch? Or John?
Yeah, I've got it here. It looks like it's about 8 minutes long.
That's all right. We'll play.
It's 2 songs. You can just play part of the first one if you want.
Yeah, we're going to end the show with that.